Confidence can make or break you as a fighter. So many people have great skills, but their confidence gets in the way of their performance. And today we're going to teach you how to be more confident as a fighter. What is going on, guys? It is Dylan the Machete here, and today we're going to be taking all about confidence as a fighter. So this is something that I do know a fair bit about, because when I was a teenager as an amateur growing up, I did kind of struggle a little bit mentally as a amateur fighter, just because I put a lot of pressure on myself and certain things like that. And today we're going to be running over things that I did to improve my confidence and form a bulletproof mindset. So without further ado, we're going to be talking about number one, which is putting in the work. So I never really had any struggles with this because I've always been quite a hard worker in the gym. I actually had a lot of issues with the opposite, overtraining. So that's where a lot of my kind of insecurities came from, was because I always overtrained my body, and I'd always think like, I'm not fit enough, I'm not strong enough, and I'd just keep pushing and keep pushing. And there were so many times where my coaches would just tell me to fucking rest, and then I'd be back in the gym twice a day the next day, or I'd be doing a run at 4 a.m. and then I'd be back in the gym at 4 p.m. like while I was still in school. So you do need to find the fine line of balancing and having a coach that you trust enough to be able to say like, hey, you need to pull back a little bit. You can't be pushing like this, take a day or two off, and you need to listen to them because they are more experienced than you. They've seen it before. They're not trying to tell you to be lazy, which is what I always kind of thought that my coaches were telling me to do. So you need to have the trust in your coach to be able to tell you what you need to hear, and you need to find that fine balance between pushing hard enough and not pushing too far. And one little saying that always kind of stuck with me is confidence equals competence is one. And another one was from Michael Bisping when he just, right before he fought for the title, he said, it takes confidence to take a day off, which is so true. So that's the first one, is just make sure that you're putting in the work and that you're not overtraining. Tip number two is going to be surround yourself with the right people. Now, especially over the last 6 months, my confidence has grown a lot purely because I've been around Savas Michael at Bung Tao Gym, and I've just been around such a good environment here, and my confidence has skyrocketed, my skills have skyrocketed, and those two things alone have just made me so much of a better fighter. So you need to make sure that you're not surrounded by people that don't have goals and ambitions. Even back in Australia, I was hanging out with people, even if they weren't fighters, they had goals and ambitions. There were people that were chasing their own thing, whether it be, I have one friend that's chasing a rap career, I have one person that's chasing business. Like, you got to have these people that are striving for their own thing, and that energy is contagious, and therefore it's going to trickle over to you. When they're winning, you're going to see it. You're going to have some confidence. You're going to have the energy to push harder, than you're winning, and you guys keep building along each other. So that's another tip, is just make sure that you're surrounded by the right people, because it is so easy to just let one negative person sink into your circle, and then that's going to bring the energy down. So if you've got any of those people, they are not welcome on the journey to become a champion. So you've got to get them out of your life. Tip number three, this is something that you can do if you have a bad day of training. So let's say you go into the gym, you're tired, you're sluggish, you don't have any power, you are just not flowing as well as you should be flowing, you're doing shit in sparring, all these things. You got to understand your fitness is a wave, and this is what my coach has always told me back home. He always said that your fitness comes up and down. It's in peaks and valleys, but the more you kind of train and then you rest and then you train and then you rest, it's going to keep going up, and that's how you build fitness. It's not just one straight line, because then eventually you're going to be on a down, you're going to keep training, and then you've just overtrained yourself, or you've overreached, and then you're going to need some time off to bring yourself back here, and then you're going to up, down, okay, I'm overtraining, boom, okay, now I've got to rest, okay. And that's going to take way longer. So you've got to understand your peaks and valleys. And this just comes from experience. So what do you do on those bad days? You can still train, but just keep it technical. So obviously in Thailand, you don't really have a choice. You got to train twice a day, every day. On those days where I'm feeling tired, I might just focus on one technique, whether it's, okay, I'm going to practice my jab, cross, and closing the distance. I'm going to focus on my left hand, my left kick. I'm going to focus on my body rip uppercut, okay? And really slow it down. That way you're not just smashing the bag, because most days I just smash the bag and I'm just getting it all in. I'm faking. I'm doing everything that I would do in a fight. I'm smashing the bag, doing all that. And on those slow days, okay, fake, jab. Like, I'm not going as intensely and as fast as I always would be. I'm still getting those reps in those technique. I'll focus more on the shadow boxing. And then, of course, after that, I'm going to do my sauna and my ice bath and my recovery and my massage and whatever else I need to do. Even if I can't get the sauna or ice bath because I don't have as much cash as I need, I will go and just sleep. Sleep's the number one recovery. If I'm really, really tired, I'm going to be in sleep by 8 p.m. that night, and I'm going to be waking up at like 6. So that's 10 hours of sleep. That's plenty to help your body get back to homeostasis and recovery. Now, if you had a bad sparring day, one thing that always helps me is name 3 things that you did well in sparring and 3 things that you want to work on. So you're not going to put these things you want to work on as just like this terrible thing that you did and it's going to fuck me up in a fight, because that's when you just kind of go down a spiral and just kind of fuck yourself mentally. You're going to say, okay, 3 things that I did well. Maybe, okay, I kept getting kicked, but every time I kicked, I landed a good cross. Even if you were getting kicked multiple times and you only landed 1 cross, that cross is something that I still landed, and that's a positive I can take away from this sparring. Or, you know, every time we got in the clinch, I didn't allow them to get the knees off. I made sure my hips were in. I pushed on their face, and that created a break in the clinch. So there's these little things, give yourself a little positivity so you can kind of understand, okay, I'm working towards a bigger picture. This one sparring session doesn't define me. Next tip is a pretty simple one, but not enough people take enough time to focus on it. It is nutrition. So if you're on top of your nutrition, you're going to be thinking better, your body's going to be feeling better, you're going to be able to train harder, longer. Your body's just going to be in a better state of recovery. So making sure that you're taking the right supplements, making sure that you're eating the right food, making sure that you're getting enough protein and carbs, make sure that you're having some salmon and omega-3s, make sure that you're eating a good quality red beef, you know, make sure you're doing all these things, or just good quality red meat, whatever you can get your hands on, you know, making sure that you're not neglecting your diet. So just a little one I want to chuck in there, just because diet is a very underlooked thing that people need to focus on as a fighter. And if you don't understand enough about nutrition, you can always hire yourself a nutritionist. I saw one for about 6 weeks when I was a teenager. It was $50 a week, and that was about half my paycheck of what I was making at the time, because I was only working part-time on weekends. So I just knew that it was going to help me out in the long run, and I'm still using so much of the stuff that I got taught. So if you need a nutritionist, just pay for it. It's going to help you a lot in the long run. Next tip, we're going to be talking about books, motivation, audiobooks, podcasts, all that type of stuff. This is the same thing when it comes to nutrition. You're not feeding your body this time, you're feeding your mind, and it's such an important thing, whether it's just reading a little bit each day, making sure that you're reading the right books. If you want to know certain books that every fighter should read, check it down here below. I've just done a video on that. I always used to wake up before school and listen to a motivational video before I went for a run. This is kind of when my confidence started to peak up a little bit. I always had certain fighters that I would be inspired by, like in Australia, Chad Collins, Ben Marnie, a couple of the fighters at my gym in Australia. There would be UFC fighters like Adesanya, Volkanovski. I always looked up to them, and I would just like look up Adesanya motivation, or I'd listen to a podcast with Ben Marnie, or I'd listen to a podcast with Chad Collins, or I'd just go watch one of their fights. I'd do that, and it just keep me motivated and kind of keep me always focused. And that's a good thing that you can do. One thing I also did when I kind of finished school and I started working a bit more full time, I'd always work with an AirPod in, just put on a good podcast, whether it be someone that I looked up to, or whether it just be about confidence, or whether it be an audio book, like all these things, you can just listen to it in your spare time, and that way your brain is constantly thinking about it and is programming your brain. Next up, we're going to be talking about visualization. So visualization, it essentially makes it feel like that you've already been in the fight before you get to the fight. It is very important, and it is something that is basically daily practice for me in my training when I'm in fight camp and I'm leading up to a fight. It just helps me get mentally stronger, mentally sharp. I'm more focused on the fight, and I just feel so much better when I'm doing it versus when I don't. So if you guys want a little bit of a guide on how to visualize properly, it'll be down here. I've already done a video on it, and I will be doing a visualization walkthrough guide very soon. Another tip, this is actually something that Savas Michael said to me right before my last fight, and I ended up knocking the guy out, and I felt extremely confident before the fight. He said, you just need to trust in your shots. And it's such a simple thing, but it is such an underrated thing, where you're in a fight and you're throwing shots and you're throwing shots. And he just said to me, you just have to trust it. Like, just really believe that your shots can stop someone. Really believe that your shots can do damage. Just really believe in everything you throw. It doesn't mean you have to throw everything crazy hard and powerful. It doesn't mean everything has to land. You might fake a couple times. You might touch them with a jab, but you just need to believe in those shots. And it's such a little thing, but it just stuck with me in my head. And it just kind of made me realize, like, you can't throw for the sake of throwing. You have to have intention behind everything you throw. Like, you got to hit them, and you got to essentially just have the confidence in your shots. It's such a small little detail. I don't really know how I can prescribe it other than that. But yeah, just make sure that you got confidence in everything that you throw. And the last one is just a saying, but it works very well. And it's kind of an idea that I've been taught over the last few years from Iggy McGowan, who is a great man. And if you guys want to get in contact with him, he is great for fighters in building a strong mindset. I will leave his details down below. No one cares. What do I mean by this? So a lot of the time when you're leading into a fight, you believe that everyone cares about it and that everyone's going to be focused on you. And if you lose, that you're this big loser and no one's going to care about you and no one's going to love you again. people don't care. Trust me. You could go into a fight and get knocked out in the first 10 seconds and everyone's going to be like, all your truly close friends are going to be saying, oh, you're such a warrior, you're such this, you're such a, it takes such balls to step into the ring and all these things, people don't actually care. People are worried about what they're doing. They don't give a fuck about what you're doing. And so many people, they get into their head and they think that this one fight is their be on all and end all. And if they don't fucking win this fight, they're going to be this big loser. And it's just not the case. People, the thing that everyone will always ask you after you fight, what is it? When's your next fight? It's something that they almost ask in every fight interview is what's next for you? What's next for you? And, that's the thing. People, they want to see you do good, but it's not like you're their main focus. It's not like all they care about is you and doing good, They see you do good. Okay, cool. What's next? And that's kind of how you should be as a fighter yourself. You're not getting comfortable with just winning and winning and winning. You always got to think like, what's next? What's next? What's next? You can't just focus on this one win and then fucking celebrate it for so long. And then, next month you're still celebrating it and then no one ends up caring about you. You're a fighter. Your goals to tick off. Understand that no one gives a shit. You're the only one that gives a shit. Obviously, your family and your parents and all that, they give a shit, but they're going to love you no matter what. They're not going to look down on you just because you lost this fight. Your mum's always going to care about you. Your dad's always going to care about you. Your siblings, everyone's going to care about you that's in your life. Your coach is still going to care about you. It's not like you're going to be disappointing your coach because you lost. If you've got that good relationship with them, they're still going to love you and they're still going to make sure that whatever happened wrong in the fight, if you lost, they're going to make sure that gets better. So that's another thing, is just making sure that you're not putting this pressure on yourself where you think everyone's going to care if you lose. So guys, if you haven't already checked them out, make sure that you check out the books video every fighter should read. Make sure that you check out the visualization guide I have done below. Make sure you check out those videos. They're extremely valuable for any fighter that is wanting to take it seriously. So please make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Check out my social media. Check out those videos. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!